What if your wisdom is actually fear in disguise? What if your responsible decisions are robbing you of your legacy? What if you've been playing it safe and calling it obedience when, in fact, it's just disobedience with a halo? More than likely, if you're listening to me, you're a business owner who has built a business that's paying the bills. Maybe even it's growing. But deep down, you feel stuck, heavy. Like, dude, how do I scale my business a little bit faster? It's just not moving fast enough. You're moving forward, but you're just maintaining. You've convinced yourself that this is what wisdom looks like: waiting, planning, and protecting. But if you're honest, you're not protecting, you're procrastinating. Friends, the longer I live, the more I coach business owners, the more businesses I see, and I see a lot of businesses, the more I realize that the vast majority of us do not want growth. We say it, but we're not willing to move in the direction or do the things which are going to yield the results. We couch it in the idea of we just need to be smart. We're not protecting, we're procrastinating. There is a counterfeit version of wisdom that keeps the highly capable men and women business owners stuck. And it's not holy. It's not holy. It's harmful. Today, I want to walk you through 4 ways false wisdom can paralyze you and how to replace it with real wisdom that builds the freedom that you desire. I was recently asked to give a talk at a Christian business forum, and the title of the talk was "Playing It Safe is a Sin." And I went to the parable where Jesus is talking about a good master who gave talents. Talents being money, actual shekels money, to 3 different individuals. One person he gave 5 talents to, one person he gave 2 talents to, one person he gave 1 talent to. And the master, the person who was entrusting these individuals with the money, went away on a journey. And when he came back, some people estimate it was a season. It could have been 2. Some people say it's about 12 to 18 months. Okay. When he came back, the person who he had given 5 talents to doubled it to 10 talents. The person who had given 2 talents to doubled it to 4 talents, but the person who gave 1 talent to did not double it. He buried it. He protected it. He protected it for various reasons. Oftentimes in our Western culture, we read a story or a parable like that, and we don't apply it to our own lives. But in this particular context, it's interesting to me because there was a stewardship element of these individuals who were given money. If you're a business owner, your business has value and you are stewarding that money. Let me ask you a simple question. Could it be that caution is killing your calling? That caution is killing your vision? That caution is killing your purpose? In that story, the master came back and the person who buried that 1 talent in the sand was called wicked and lazy. Wicked and lazy. Whereas the other 2 doubled their talents within a short time frame. Right there, as a business owner and a coach for business owners, I'm thinking, are you doubling your business every 12 to 18 months? Well, no, Justin, we're not. Then are you hiding your talents in the stand? Are you taking your business and you just annuitize it? If you are, then might the master, so to speak, call you wicked and lazy? You see, oftentimes what I notice with business owners who have reached a little bit of success, just a little bit of success, is we start trying to protect what we have. We have this sandcastle that we build around our business and try to prevent it from being eroded. And you might as well just bury your business. You're thinking that, my goodness, I need to be protecting it. I need to wait for the right time. But the truth is that oftentimes whenever we analyze, we wait, we go back and we ponder, it's just fear before we let go. When the master asked that person with the talent, he said, "Why did you do this?" He said, "Because I was afraid. Because I was afraid. I know that you're a shrewd person. I know that you make money where you haven't sown." In other words, he receives interest. "But I was afraid." And the master says, "You wicked and lazy person." Harvard Business identified a particular study which was fascinating to me, and that is this: risk-avoidant leaders generate 30% less enterprise growth over a 5-year period. Think about that. Whenever you're all the time looking at, how do I prevent risk on this, versus saying, what's the outcome going to be, then you actually end up harming the business. I've been quoting Marcus Aurelius because I've been reading his book Meditations yet again this year. And it's interesting, he had this one quote inside there. He said, "It's not death that a man should fear. It's that he should fear never beginning to live." Isn't it amazing when you take a little bit of initiative, when you take a little bit of journey, when you step out into the unknown, how excitement kicks back in? I can only imagine that person who was given 5 talents trying to figure out how in the world am I going to grow this talents? And he grows it from 5 to 10. And the master comes back in and he's filled with anticipation of, look at what I've done. You see, God didn't give you a vision so that you can go dig a hole and hide your company, your vision, your aspirations in the hole. But that's what so many of us do. That's what so many of us do. The reality is that safety isn't only masking the fear that we wear. Sometimes it shows up wrapped in Bible verses. We often have, especially in our Southern culture. We live in the Bible Belt here in East Tennessee. It is all about the Lord's Prayer, mashed potatoes, and fried chicken on Sundays. We go to church, we come home, we have a good time. That's a little different than other parts of the country. But we have these little sayings in the South here that really get on my nerves. We over-spiritualize everything. Now, look, I'm a Christian, you know that. I do read my Bible every day because I think the gospel, the good news, is the greatest story ever lived. The power that it can change your life, my life, is phenomenal. But oftentimes here in the South, we'll hear things like, well, let me pray about it. Let me pray about it. Now, if you're not from the South, they may say things like this, let me think about it. The reality is oftentimes we're hiding behind our quiet time. We're waiting for confirmation for months, for years, and we call it discernment. but God, if we're going to use Southern terms, God calls it disobedience. I can't tell you the number of people who come on a free strategy call and they say, well, here's what my business is, here's what I'm struggling with, and we want to achieve this, and we understand your framework, how it works, and we understand the price point. Yeah, we don't have problems, but let me think about it. And I've gotten this so bold right now to say, well, you're not going to think about it. You're not going to think about it. You're going to stay mediocre. You're going to stay stuck. You're not going to move because out of your mouth presents what's in your heart. I gave this example on the podcast a few months ago, and I held up my coffee cup. I keep coffee with me all the time. This is actually hot tea, a peppermint tea in here today. I keep it because my throat gets so weary of talking. And whenever I do podcasts, I usually record 4, 5, 6 podcasts at a time, either with guests or dumping out my thoughts. And so I talk a lot. When we do our intensive, it is 16 hours of me and the client talking. And recently we've had intensive after intensive after intensive, and it's a lot of fun, but my throat gets weary. And I gave this example of just imagine I'm holding my coffee cup and someone bumps into me, and in this case, hot tea spills out, this peppermint tea with honey in it spills out. And I would say, why did the tea spill out? And you would say, well, they bumped into you. And that's partially true. But the reality is that the reason why tea spilled out of this cup is because I have tea in the cup. Whenever we say things like, let me pray about it, or let me go think about it, we're actually hiding behind the spiritual excuses. We actually are illustrating what's in our cup. And what's in our cup is we say we want growth. We say we want freedom. We say we want breakthrough, but we're not willing to take a step. And so therefore, we're playing it safe. And friends, especially if you're a Christian, if you're playing it safe, you're not going to satisfy the master. If you're playing it safe and you're not a Christian, you don't believe in the spiritual world, that's fine. If you're playing it safe, you're never going to live to your fullest potential. Whenever you get out on the edge of your discomfort is where growth happens. Whenever you get out on the edge of discomfort is when you break through and you drive toward that vision that you have for your business, for your life, for your legacy. And so we lie to ourselves when we say, well, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to pray about it. In the South, I'd say, God bless your heart. Bless your heart. You've been waiting for confirmation for months, for years, for decades maybe. You call it discernment. God calls it disobedience. Fear disguised as faith is still fear. Let me say that again backwards. Fear still is faith as disguised fear. And I'll say it forward. Fear disguised as faith is still fear. Why am I honing in on fear? False evidence appearing real. In Scripture says 365 times, don't be afraid. Go back to your early days in business. Go back to your days. Were you fearful? False evidence appearing real? Or did you say, you know what? I had this dream and I am going to blaze a trail. Where's that person? Friends, if you want to become a decamillionaire, if you want to move into your calling, if you want to achieve your wildest dreams, you've got to step out in faith. You've got to see that vision and then move. McKinsey says it this way: leaders who consistently delay key decision makings due to fear were 2 times more likely to burn out and lose team engagement. And every single day, people call us because they delayed actions to where they say, man, I wish I'd done this years earlier. I'm tired. I don't have the energy, but I have no choice now. Is that going to be you? Is that going to be you? I hope not. Man, I want the best for your life. I want you to achieve your wildest dreams. Here's what's amazing. True faith moves even when you don't have full clarity. Martin Luther King Jr., for those of you who listen to me a while, you know he is my man. Martin Luther King Jr. is like the one person in all of history besides Jesus that I would love to sit down with. Just pick his brain. He made this fascinating comment one time. He said, faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. Just take a step, man. The longer you delay doing what you know you should be doing, the more spiritual your disobedience starts to sound. That's the reality of it. Now, here's what's amazing, is oftentimes people will take action, but if it's the wrong action, you're going to still end up trapped. Even success can be a prison. Even success can be a prison. What happens when success on paper still feels like a prison? I'm fascinated with our intensives. I've done many of them here in the last little bit, and I'm having a blast with it, man. I'm having so much fun. Sitting down across the table from successful business owners who are producing $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, $5 million a year. And we're engaging for 2 or 3 or 4 intensives within a year. And I'm having an opportunity to link hands with these individuals and challenge them and push them. Just this last week, a successful business owner was in the office and we were talking, and he said, Justin, I'm making 7 figures a year. And he is a successful business owner. I'm making 7 figures a year, but I'm not free. The very thing I've built has now enslaved me, and I have no time. Have no time to travel. Have no time to enjoy the money. I've got sports equipments in the gym that I can't, or in my home garage that I can't use. I've got nice side-by-sides. I've got sports cars, and I can't tell the last time I've driven them. See, there's a lot of people making 7 figures right now. A lot of people who are successful on paper, but they still have bondage. They still don't have freedom. So maybe that's you. Maybe you've hit the revenue targets. Maybe you built the team. From the outside in, man, it looks like you got it all made, but you know, you're disconnected. You're exhausted. And maybe, like my buddy last week, maybe a little bit resentful. There have been many moments in my life which have impacted me. I can think of my children being born. I can think of meeting Emily and getting married. I can think of the day I accepted Jesus as my Savior. There's been a lot of times in my life that I'll never forget high moments. One of those I talk about often from stage is the time I was standing on a West Virginia mountaintop and my buddy looked at me and said, Justin, I'm broke. I'm broke. Now, was he financially broke? No. Was he emotionally broke? Yeah. If you're from the outside world, he looked successful. He had the trips, he had the paid for house, he had the sports cars, he had everything from the outside, but he had built himself a prison. And candidly, friends, in that moment, I didn't want that. Gallup poll did a study that says 60% of business owners feel emotionally detached from their work despite financial success. I didn't want that. Your calling will always start to suffocate in a business that no longer aligns with your purpose. It always does. I can remember we were in a highly successful business. Emily's laid up in the hospital, and I'm struggling in the fact of what I'm doing. We're making bank, man. We're making some bank. But my calling was disconnected. In the moment when Emily said, Justin, what's another $1 million going to do for us? It wasn't going to change our lives in any way. We live a frugal life, and we still do. But I had built a business that was successful, but it wasn't free. It wasn't free to the point that I wanted it to be free. So we exited and we built a business that's based on freedom. Here we are now, less than a year into it. We have a business that's based on freedom, and it's hyper successful. It's interesting to me because so often people will build themselves a prison that looks like success. It doesn't have to be that way, friends. So what do you do? What do you do whenever you're stuck? Whenever you're stuck in what you built, whenever you stop hiding behind your excuses, whenever you're ready to move forward, even if it feels risky, what do you do? What's the alternative for playing it safe? What if your next level is waiting on the other side of obedience? What if your next level in business is waiting on the other side of the step that you need to take? What if the next level for your life, for your family, requires one step? Friends, you don't need a new idea. You don't need another plan. You need to obey exactly what you were called to do. You need to trust that multiplication comes from division and movement. That's what you need to trust in. Obedience multiplies what fear paralyzes every single time. When you're obedient to your calling, you will experience multiplication. Fear paralyzes, obedience pushes. It's amazing how that works. Hebrews 11:8. I've studied faith a lot because I'm writing about faith in my book. It says, by faith, Abraham obeyed and went even when he didn't know where he was going. God said, go. He's like, all right, let's go. Have you ever been there? Have you ever been there with that excitement to where you know that where you're kind of headed, but you don't know how you're going to get there? Every year when we put the boat down and we take it offshore, it is exciting to me because we know about where we're going. We don't know where the fish are going to be exactly, but man, we're going to head in that direction. We're not going to catch a fish staying where we're at. We got to go, man. We got to get out there. Faith-based risk creates exponential results. MIT Sloan did a study and they determined this, that companies that leaned into strategic risk outperformed peers by 25% in value growth over 5 years when they leaned into the uncertainty. The uncertainty brought about the exponential results they desired. Courage, friends, is the currency of the vision. You don't have the vision for Decamillionaire. You don't have the vision for freedom. You did not receive that vision, that calling, that purpose in your life without any currency. Currency is courage. C.S. Lewis writes it this way, courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point. Courage is the form. Courage is the currency. Friends, you don't need more clarity. You need conviction. You need a step. It's so fascinating to me. On this side of the table, friends, when I'm coaching people, it is so simple to say. Man, I remember what it's like. I remember what it's like on the opposite side. I remember my coach and I going round and round. I'm paying this cat 10 grand a month, man. And I'm broke, man. We have a bunch of O's in between the P and the R. Now, we're not poor mentally, but we are poor financially. We are broke. We just gone through 7 years of turmoil. And my coach is charging me 10 grand a month and I'm doing everything I can. I'm paying this guy more than I'm paying myself. He and I went round and round. He would say things to me like, good, Brad, man, you got this. You got this, dude. You see it out there? You want it? You can do it. You can do anything you put your head to. If you can conceive it, you can achieve it. God didn't give you that vision for your purpose. He gave it to you for his purpose. Follow him. Trust him. Step, man. Let me bring it to an end here, friend. Oftentimes we look at our wisdom of not moving, saying, let me think about it. Let me pray about it. Let me wrap this in some scripture of disobedience. We take a step back in safety. In my mind, I often play this out. I don't know exactly what it's going to be like whenever we see Jesus. I have no idea. But in my mind, I see see myself giving an account of the talents he gave me, of the vision he gave me, of my calling compared to his desire for my life. I know that in Jeremiah, he says he knows the footsteps of my life, those to make me prosper. He's predestined me unto good works. I know these things. So I know there's a calling on my life, just like I know, there's a calling on yours. And I can't help but one day think, whenever I get to heaven, will I see a version of myself that was based on 100% faith? I see a version of myself that's like, man, who is that guy? Who is that guy that I didn't have the faith to trust? Well, I see a version of myself I live in deep regret. I think all of us will to some point. But I've just reached a point in my life, friends, where I'm done using the excuse, I'm going to think about it, I'm going to pray about it. I'm done resting in fear. I'm done. Call it what it is. Stop calling it stewardship. Let's be real. God gave us a business. God gave us talents. God gave us a gift. Are we burying it in the sand? Are we going to hear, well done, thy good and faithful servant? Are we going to hear, you wicked and lazy steward? It's going to be a rude awakening for many of us. And that's not what I desire for my life. And man, I certainly don't desire it for you. The reason why I am still pushing on the Decamillionaire way is because many of you who are listening to me right now just need to take a step. You know what you've got to do. Take a step. Hire that coach. Hire that player. Shrink the business down to the things that really matter. Quit, quote, praying about it, meditating on it, talking to the dog and everybody else about what you know you should already be doing, and step. We have a framework that works. The Decamillionaire way, man, it is a blast. I'm having the time of my life watching business owners change their life for the rest of their life. How about you? You tired of lying to yourself? Let's go make it happen. We'll talk to you next week.